Hey, the other day I went to the pool and my fingers got all wrinkled from being in the water for too long.
Yeah, if you stay in for a long time, your hands end up looking like an old person's.
And what's funny is that only my fingers got wrinkled, not any other part of my body.
That's an interesting observation.
Why do our fingers get wrinkled when we go in the pool?
Well, there's actually a complex reason behind that. Let me explain it in detail.
Really? Then I'd love to hear about it.
Before I delve into the detailed explanation, shall we first explore other situations in which wrinkles can form?
Other than when we spend a long time in the bath or doing dishes, are there any other instances?
So, what do you think we have in common?
Well, it could be that we both spend a lot of time in the water. Maybe our skin absorbs the water and that's why we get wrinkles.
That's right. One reason could be that the surface of our skin absorbs moisture and swells up.
I see, so wrinkles form because our skin swells up from absorbing moisture.
Exactly. But actually, that's not the only reason wrinkles form. There's another reason too.
Hey, is there more to it? I want to know.
There are two theories I'll explain this time. And actually, even among researchers, there is still no conclusive answer.
So even something as simple as getting wrinkles on our fingers doesn't have a known reason yet.
First, as I mentioned earlier, one theory is that the surface of our skin absorbs water. But there's actually another theory. It suggests that wrinkles are formed due to reactions in the nervous system.
Reactions in the nervous system? Sounds complicated.
Don't worry, I'll explain it in a way that's easy to understand.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Shall I start by explaining the reason why our skin absorbs water, which everyone already understands? Do you know what the structure of our skin is like?
Well, that's a tough question. I've never really thought about it before.
Actually, the skin is composed of 4 main layers.
4? What are they called?
The outermost layer is called the stratum corneum, followed by the stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, and basal layer.
These are all words I've never heard before.
In this layer, the stratum corneum absorbs moisture.
What about the other layers?
The other layers don't absorb much moisture. The stratum corneum is the outermost layer, so it has that role.
So because the stratum corneum is the outermost layer, it has a significant impact.
The stratum corneum is easily affected by external factors. That's why it also plays a role in absorbing moisture.
What about the other layers? What do they do?
The granular layer is involved in the formation of the stratum corneum, and the spinous layer maintains the strength of the skin. The basal layer generates new cells.
So each layer has a different function.
Exactly. Each layer has its own specific role to fill.
I see, so that's how the structure of the skin works.
Going back to the topic of wrinkles, the outermost layer, the stratum corneum, is the only layer that easily absorbs moisture. So when it absorbs water, the stratum corneum expands and forms wrinkles.
I see, that's why our fingers become wrinkled.
I see. Well then, shall we talk about the mechanism of moisture absorption next? As I explained earlier, your fingertips become wrinkled because the stratum corneum absorbs moisture and expands.
Yeah, the moisture goes into the outermost layer of the stratum corneum, right?
The fine process of moisture absorption involves a force called osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure refers to the force by which moisture moves due to the difference in concentration of substances in a solution.
So is it because the concentration in the stratum corneum is low that moisture permeates from there?
Well, actually, it's different. The stratum corneum has a high concentration because it contains certain components. Osmosis is the phenomenon where water moves from a less concentrated solution to a more concentrated solution.
What? It moves to the more concentrated solution?
If we consider other examples of osmosis, it becomes clear. For instance, when we sprinkle salt on vegetables, the water content comes out towards the concentrated liquid, which is salt.
I see, if we think about the equalization of two substances, it makes sense that they move from the dilute side to the concentrated side.
Exactly. And the role responsible for this movement is the semi-permeable membrane. The semi-permeable membrane reacts differently depending on the size of the substances. It makes it difficult for larger substances to pass through while allowing smaller substances to pass through easily.
So if the semi-permeable membrane reacts according to the size of the substance, right? Then does it also control the movement of water?
That's right. Molecules larger than water have a harder time passing through.
I see. So the semi-permeable membrane controls the movement of components. That's why the stratum corneum absorbs water and expands, right?
Exactly. But the stratum corneum on areas other than the palms and soles of the feet doesn't wrinkle as much.
Really, is it because water is less likely to be retained in the stratum corneum of areas other than the palms and soles of the feet?
I see. The palms of our hands and the soles of our feet have more friction and stimulation than other parts of our body, so the outer layer of skin becomes thicker and more prone to retaining moisture.
I understand now. It does feel like the skin is thicker in those areas compared to others.
Once you understand osmotic pressure, you'll understand why our hands don't wrinkle as easily in hot springs.
Ah, I see. It's true that our hands don't wrinkle as easily when we soak in hot springs.
When you soak in a hot spring, the difference in the stratum corneum and osmotic pressure decreases. Do you know why your hands don't wrinkle easily?
The relationship between the stratum corneum and osmotic pressure is a bit difficult. But is it because when you enter a hot spring, the movement of water is less likely to occur?
Yes, exactly. Hot springs contain a lot of mineral components, so the difference in the stratum corneum and osmotic pressure decreases. The stratum corneum naturally has a role in retaining moisture, but in order to absorb moisture, a difference in osmotic pressure is necessary.
So when there are a lot of mineral components, the difference in the stratum corneum and osmotic pressure decreases.
That's right! When there are a lot of mineral components, the difference in osmotic pressure with the stratum corneum decreases, making it less likely for water to move.
I see. So that's why your hands don't wrinkle easily when you soak in hot springs.
Exactly. You got it. Now let me explain the details of another hypothesis.
It seems like we've already solved the reason for wrinkles from our previous discussion. But are there any other reasons?
I see. Actually, our nervous system controls various functions in our body, and there's a theory that wrinkles form when water touches our fingertips.
It's getting complicated all of a sudden, huh?
The nervous system controls our body's sensations, so we can even feel when our fingertips get wet. And that allows us to create wrinkles so we can firmly grip things that are wet.
The nervous system has amazing functions, huh?
It hasn't been fully understood yet, but the theory that the blood vessels in our fingertips contract through the autonomic nervous system, creating a difference between the surface and volume, seems to be quite plausible.
I see, so even though it hasn't been fully explained, wrinkles form when they get wet. By the way, why does the nervous system respond to water by creating wrinkles?
That's an interesting topic. The wrinkles on our fingertips have a biological purpose. In fact, the wrinkles on our fingertips actually improve our grip. They create a state that makes it less slippery when in contact with water.
I see, but why does our grip improve when we touch water?
As I mentioned earlier, the nervous system constricts the blood vessels in the skin of the fingertips, causing wrinkles to form and increasing friction. That's why it becomes harder to slip when holding something wet. It's how organisms have evolved to be able to grasp objects even when they're wet.
I see. So it's related to the nervous system. That's why wrinkles form and make it harder to slip when in contact with water. This allows organisms to have an easier time grabbing things.
That's right. They have evolved to be able to firmly grasp objects even underwater. Actually, wrinkles also form on the soles of our feet. Our ancestors evolved wrinkles on their feet to make it less slippery when walking on wet ground.
Wrinkles on the soles of our feet too? That's amazing. So organisms have become better at firmly planting their feet on the ground.
That's right. Living organisms have developed advantageous features through evolution to enhance their survival.
The wrinkles on our fingertips and the wrinkles on the soles of our feet make me think about the survival strategies of living organisms. They adapt and evolve according to their environment, right?
I actually have a story that supports what we've been talking about. It's about a patient that a doctor discovered in 1935.
Oh, what kind of story is it?
This patient had fingers that could wrinkle and fingers that couldn't. When 3 of their fingers were submerged in water, they wrinkled, but the other 2 fingers didn't.
Wow, I wonder why there weren't any wrinkles.
Actually, it was due to the nerves. The 2 fingers of this patient had severed nerves, so they couldn't feel anything.
Oh, so that's why only the 3 fingers with intact nerves had wrinkles?
Oh, I see. So the nervous system controls the absorption of moisture in the stratum corneum and is involved in the formation of wrinkles.
I see, that's interesting. The nervous system has various roles, huh?
This is the second hypothesis. So far, I've been explaining the principles, but have any of you actually felt the necessity of wrinkles?
The necessity of wrinkles? That's not a question I've really thought about.
Well, I suppose so. Have you ever tried grabbing ice with your bare hands?
Oh yes, it was so slippery. that I couldn't get a good grip.
Actually, it's easier to grab ice with wrinkled fingers.
Huh? How does having wrinkles make it easier to grab ice?
Hands with wrinkles create small irregularities, which increase friction and make it easier to grab ice.
I see. So having uneven surfaces makes it less slippery?
That's why you should try grabbing ice with wrinkled hands after taking a bath. You'll be surprised at how much easier it is to grip.
I'll give it a try.
Oh, please do try it. There are other everyday phenomena related to slipperiness and wrinkles, you know?
That's interesting. If you have more examples, I'd love to hear them.
Sure thing. Let's continue explaining other related everyday phenomena. Actually, tire treads have wrinkles for the same reason. The tire treads help drain water and increase the contact area between the tire and the road surface to prevent slipping.
I see that tires have treads, but are they really important?
Tire treads are directly related to car safety. They especially help prevent slipping on wet roads.
I see, so grooves are necessary to increase the contact area between the tire and the road surface. But I wonder if there is a connection between the grooves on the tire and the wrinkles on our fingers.
That's right. Earlier I mentioned that increasing the irregularities enhances the frictional force, but there's actually another reason. The wrinkles on our fingers and the grooves on the tire are formed by a similar mechanism. They both exist to enhance the grip on wet surfaces. The grooves on the tire play a role in effectively draining water and preventing slipping.
I understand now. So both the wrinkles on our fingers and the grooves on the tire have structures that are suitable for gripping objects. In other words, they are both necessary to reduce slipperiness.
That's right. The wrinkles on our fingers and the grooves on the tire are both designed to reduce slipperiness. In the natural world, various organisms create surfaces that are difficult to slip on in different ways.
I see. There are various methods to create surfaces that are difficult to slip on. The evolution of organisms is truly fascinating.
We've been explaining why wrinkles form on fingertips so far, but let's summarize it in the end.
You explained both the stratum corneum hypothesis and the nervous system hypothesis.
Yes, by comparing and integrating both elements, we can unravel the reasons behind wrinkles on
I see. The stratum corneum hypothesis suggests that wrinkles form due to the absorption and retention of water, while the nervous system hypothesis suggests that wrinkles form to increase friction and improve grip strength and slip resistance.
That's right. According to the stratum corneum hypothesis, wrinkles on fingertips are believed to form when the stratum corneum absorbs water through osmosis. On the other hand, the nervous system hypothesis suggests that wrinkles on fingertips are the result of evolution, increasing friction and improving grip strength and slip resistance.
I see. Considering the elements of both hypotheses, wrinkles on fingertips are beneficial for living beings.
Ah, yes. With wrinkles on fingertips, we can grasp things firmly and reduce slipperiness. It's a function necessary for organisms to survive.
Thank you for explaining today. It was very interesting.
If you have any more questions, I'll explain anytime. Feel free to ask.
All right, I'll count on you when that time comes.